What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of The Girl Who Talks Sports, the podcast where we talk sports and other girly things. I am Sam Cardona, and thank you guys so much for tuning in this week. Just a few announcements before we get into today's episode. I'm super excited for this week. We have Annie O'Donnell, sweet Annie OD, from the OD on Sports podcast. You've seen her on TikTok, you've seen her on social media. Real good friend of mine. I'm very excited to talk to her about NFL Week 2. We're going into everything. But if you guys haven't noticed yet, the past 2 weeks I have put out my episode on a Tuesday instead of a Wednesday. So it is now the new official day during the NFL season that The Girl Who Talks Sports will now be out every Tuesday instead of every Wednesday. So make sure that you notice that change. And it's just The Girl Who Talks Sports a day early, which is super exciting. Some other plugs, guys, don't forget to follow us on all podcasting platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever it is that you get your podcasts from. Please make sure to subscribe and leave a review where possible. That's very helpful. You can also subscribe to me on YouTube at The Girl Who Talks Sports. Subscribe, and you can like this video if you're watching it on YouTube right now. You can turn on the bell to get notified every time I upload a new video. I've been saying this for a little bit now, but I am planning some during the season content, some extra content to put on the YouTube channel. So I'm very, very stoked about all of those things. And finally, social media. So you guys can follow me on Twitter, obviously, as usual, at TGWTS Podcast. I am now live tweeting every NFL Sunday, so from 1 p.m. to, I'll tweet during Sunday Night Football a little bit, but usually the entire Red Zone day is when I'm like full-blown on Twitter, like live tweeting everything, so make sure to check that out. And you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at The Girl Who Talks Sports. And that's about it, people. I really appreciate you all for listening. I'm very excited to get into this interview with Annie. So before we get into that, there's going to be a quick little read from Instacart, and then after that, we will get into our interview. Imagine it was possible that local fresh groceries could be delivered right to your front door. You would have so much free time, you could listen to more of The Girl Who Talks Sports. Instacart gives you unlimited grocery delivery for one low monthly fee. Better than what those other guys who nickel and dime you do whenever you use their app. Instacart can deliver to your front door in as little as 1 hour. You're not even tied down to one store. You can shop multiple stores, find deals in your area to save some money, and shoppers hand select your items based on your preferences. So don't worry, they'll keep your gentle items like your eggs safe too. To start your 14-day free trial, click the link in the show notes so Instacart knows that you were sent by me, the girl who talks sports. And this also helps to support our show. Instacart. Never step foot in a grocery store again. All right, everybody, welcome back. We are at NFL Week 2, just Week 2. And it feels like it's been years at this point, but we're only at Week 2. And I am so excited to get into this because not only do we have a Ravens fan in our midst, and after Sunday night, everybody knows what we're going to get into in this episode, but we have a lot of other things to cover as well. But here she is, sweet Annie Annie O'Donnell, TikTok superstar, host of OD on Sports, the one and only Annie. Thank you so much for coming on the show this week.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so pumped to be back and get into this insane week of football with you. And obviously, I'm in a pretty chipper mood given what's happened in the last, a little less than 24 hours. So
at this point, yeah, no, it's still very fresh, and we're going to get into it because Annie has a lot of emotions to unfurl, and we are going to get into it. And my goodness, what a week 2. I mean, like, this is like, I cannot believe we are only in week 2. I feel like we're in like week 10 at this point. It's insane.
Oh, absolutely. And it kind of thinks back because it feels like week 1, there were a lot of big games and big upsets. Of course, we were talking about the Packers right before, we got on recording. Mm-hmm. And you got to remember, like, it just felt like just with the off-season narrative going around with Aaron Rodgers, and now they've played a game, and it feels like we've been carrying on all through the summer. And, like you said, we're only in week 2. We've got 15 more weeks of football?
Just about.
Which is, we're like you said, we're only week 2 and we already have like a laundry list of things to talk about. Lots of players and standouts. And hey, like we said, it's only the beginning. So
absolutely. And what's crazy is one of the first things that we're going to talk about here is this injury list. And now we are, just the fact that we're in week 2 is insane that there's this many, not even just injuries in general, like notable injuries that people were just dropping like flies yesterday. And it was like pretty like heart-wrenching, honestly. It's like every 2 seconds, Adam Schefter's tweeting out, oh, this person goes down. And I'm like, wait, I can't keep up. There was way too many injuries.
Did you get Vietnam War flashbacks to week 2 last year where just everybody was going down?
Everyone tore their ACL.
I was gonna say Saquon, but didn't Christian McCaffrey went down that week too? Saquon did. It was, which everyone that had the 1st and 2nd overall pick in fantasy were like, well, our season's over.
Yeah, it was just been rough. So we're gonna go through a couple of these injuries and kind of see, depending on how notable they are and how long they're going to be out for, what this means for this team. So let's start off with somebody that honestly, I'm not too surprised he got hurt, but people are a little bit upset. And that was Tua Tagovailoa, who has a rib injury. I don't think they've mentioned how long he's going to be out for, but the drama here is that obviously the Dolphins have kind of been talking in Deshaun Watson's ear a little bit, and that's a whole thing as well. But what are your thoughts? I mean, just in terms of this game yesterday, Tua went out and the Dolphins just fell apart, basically. It looked atrocious against the Bills.
It was terrible. It wasn't Tua. Well, Tua, saw only 9 snaps before he got busted in the ribs. I do think I saw something where it's just a bruised rib at this point, no break or anything. So I think he's to be determined if he's going to take the field against Oakland, the 2-0 Oakland Raiders at that. So they've got a tall water. They got shut out against the Buffalo Bills. Imagine how they're going to be against Derek Carr and the red hot Oakland Raiders. And here's the thing with talking about Deshaun Watson at this point, and I'm not denying Deshaun Watson's quarterback talent. Obviously, everybody with eyes and that's watched a game of football knows he's one of the best in the league. It just doesn't seem worth it at this point to me when there's an ongoing investigation. You don't know how this is going to end and how an investigation is going to pan out, what the end result of this is going to be. Why give up draft capital? Why give up prospects, players, anything when this is basically a wild card at this point? It just doesn't seem worth it to me and not worth the trouble because somehow you have a man that's accused of, sexual harassment and, sexual harassment affects almost everybody. Everybody's experienced it, and especially women experienced it in some form in whatever industry. And how are you going to go to your fan base and defend that if this all is true? So I say stay away from Deshaun Watson until this whole mess gets cleared up, which I know for him and his camp can't be good because I know he wants out of Houston ASAP, but what can you do? But I feel like the biggest concern, I'm not too concerned with Tua. I thought he put on a great show week 1, but it's that offensive line. They looked awful against the Buffalo Bills. They might as well have not been there. And against, Max Crosby, Yannick Ngakoue, and Carl Nassib for the Raiders defensive line, they don't stand at this point in time. They don't stand a chance.
No, not even a little bit. And I think that you would think with the Dolphins defense that they would have been able to stop the Bills at some point, but the Bills put up 35 points?
35, yeah.
I was convinced that after the whole debacle with the Steelers that I was like, oh, they can't go up against these tough defenses. And I was like, wow, Miami's a pretty tough defense. But the Bills were like, nope, put on their big boy pants. They went out there and they were like, we need a win today. And they proved it. And it was just, oh my goodness. Poor Dolphins.
Right. That loss in week 1 for the Buffalo Bills. You got a fan base. You're coming off an AFC championship appearance. You're coming off the first division title since the late 90s, excuse me. Expectations are high. Josh Allen just signed his big contract. You got, everyone's talking about Diggs and Allen as the big, the duo to watch this year. Mm-hmm. And you come out flat week 1 against the Pittsburgh Steelers, nonetheless, who've been bullying you around for the last, it feels like 20 years. Right. So I sure bitter taste. They wanted to get their revenge back against a division rival that, they've also, correct me if there was something. It was, I can't remember the record between the Bills and the Dolphins as of the last 10 years. I remember seeing it multiple times leading up to this series, but I'm not surprised that the Bills, you know, like you said, got their big boy pants on and said, hey, let's start playing like the terrible, I just meant terrible in a good way, like threatening offensive power that we are. And who are they playing next week? I'm trying to remember.
The Bills?
Yeah.
I actually don't know. I should probably know that off the top of my head because I'm like in love with the Bills, but I know that
You're a Bills stan.
Yes, I am a Bills stan. I know that Brian Flores, as the Miami head coach, has never won against the Bills.
I think that was it.
Yeah, I think they're 0-5 against the Bills in the last 3 years. So
I was like, the Bills have the Dolphins. I was like, no, that's this week still.
Oh my God, I was just doing the same thing. I was like, wait, a lot of these look familiar.
You're like, wait, it's still week 2. We're recording. We still got one more game left to play.
Right. How do I even get to week 3? I don't even know how to navigate.
The Bills have the Washington football team. So.
Oh, well, I mean, another tough defense, but
yeah.
I don't see them losing.
I don't see the Bills D giving it up to Taylor Heineke and
No, but the rest of the things with the Dolphins here, I mean, Jacoby Brissett is the backup here, and he came in, but I don't want to blame him because the offensive line did look so bad. Right. So I'm thinking that, give him the benefit of the doubt, but I think that you're correct. They should stay away from Deshaun Watson. I don't think anybody should be touching Deshaun Watson because even if he ends up on the team, let's say, this whole thing blows over and like he doesn't get any sort of legal penalty, like you can still end up on the commissioner exempt list and odds are get, 8 games of suspension. And now what? Now you have a star quarterback sitting there for half a season? Like, yeah. It's just, there's no good that comes out of it, at all.
And for that contract, it's just not worth it to have a guy sitting on the bench burning up that cap capital. So no. I completely agree.
No,
especially Cam Newton's still available too. Like I'd call Cam Newton before I go and trade Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, no, I mean Cam Newton is still floating around there, and people were expecting him maybe to go to Washington. I don't think he's going to Washington.
After Heineke putting on that performance, against your New York Football Giants.
That's okay.
It's fine. I went into the season with low expectations.
So low. Yeah, no, Heineke did good.
The story's cool. The story's cool. You go from He was an XFL quarterback 18 months ago, and now he starts the quarterback in the NFL for a very passionate fan base, nonetheless, one that's been around for quite a long time. So it's funny what can happen. How life can change.
Absolutely. And now here he is, he's beating the New York Giants on Thursday Night Football in a devastating. I don't even want to relive it in my brain, to be quite honest with you.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
But so we were talking about Deshaun Watson. Let's go on to the Houston Texans here. And another injury is Tyrod Taylor. And from what I understand, I believe he might be out for about a month. I don't think he's done for the season, but he hurt his hamstring. And they said there was talks is Deshaun going to play? Is he not going to play? He's not. I don't think that he is. So that leaves Davis Mills, who is a rookie quarterback. And honestly, Tyrod Taylor, I feel so bad for him. This poor guy every year gets hurt and a rookie quarterback comes in, takes his place, and then all of a sudden they start doing good and then he loses his job. Happened with Justin Herbert, happened with Baker Mayfield. Not with the Bills, but they drafted Josh Allen, so he was out of there. So this poor guy, I just feel so bad for him.
I call Tyrod Taylor and a few other quarterbacks actually in the league. I call them the Honda Civic quarterbacks. They're all reliable. They'll get you from point A to point B. They're not going to do anything fancy. They don't have all the extra, fun little gadgets. They're not new. They're not young. But, if you need a quarterback, you need somebody to throw the ball. He's there. Yeah. You need to get from point A to point B. He's good. And it's unfortunate because week 1, he actually did very well.
He did.
I have 21 for 33, 291 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, for a struggling Houston Texans, where I don't think anybody gave them a slight chance to do anything in the division or make any sort of I even helped tie together a win at that point. But and then just yesterday, 10 of 11, 125 yards and 1 touchdown. Now, granted, correct me if I'm wrong, did he go out in the first quarter?
I believe so. It was pretty early on.
It was early on, I know, because he only had 11 pass attempts. So right. I mean, like I echo your sentiments. I feel so awful for the guy, but if it does end up being that way, and you know what, honestly, props to the Houston Texans for going out and drafting a quarterback, because they know that this situation could possibly get ugly. I mean, you sign a guy. I mean, I'm not giving the Texans any sort of, I don't feel bad for the Texans because I believe they brought this situation all upon themselves.
Agreed.
Completely destroyed their team and trading away DeAndre Hopkins for a 6th round pick and, a bag of footballs is literally the Bill O'Brien curse lives on.
Yeah.
But, I think you're put in a situation where you commit to a guy long-term and all of a sudden, professional athletes are really starting to realize their power, especially NFL quarterbacks, realize their power where if they don't like a situation and they don't want to be there, they have the influence and the power to be able to say, hey, I don't want to play here anymore. Trade me. Yep. And Deshaun Watson had a strict case. He had a pretty good case because teams are going to want to trade for Deshaun Watson. But then these allegations come out and of course, that's just dead in the water now. But I mean, I'm trying to think, who did the Texans? No, the Texans play the Panthers this Thursday, and the Carolina Panthers have been
Thursday
red hot this year. And I know we'll talk a little bit more about the Panthers when we talk about the poor New York Jets.
Right.
but I mean, that's not a game. I could be surprised, but that's not a game that I see them winning. I mean, they had their week 1 win against the Jacksonville Jaguars, which. Right. Did you see their social media post, like apologizing to their fans?
Who?
Jacksonville Jaguars.
Oh my God. Yeah. It was so sad.
I was like, it's week 2. I understand they haven't won a game since week 1 of last year, but you have a new coach, a rookie quarterback. It's week 2. Like, are the fans really that up in arms about the state of the franchise?
It was just so weird. Like Urban Meyer was like, hang in there. We're coming. And I'm like, why are you posting that?
Yeah,
like,
this is weird. Yeah.
It was so awkward. And I was like, this is really sad. Jacksonville needs to be like, don't do that. Be like optimistic. Just be like, yeah, we'll get him next time. Or I don't know.
Exactly. With that transition from the NFL, from the NCAA to the NFL is one that I think often gets overlooked, not overlooked, but understated a lot of times. It's a big jump. Mm-hmm. And I think when you put a rookie quarterback in the situation of, hey, you got the ball week 1, that's a lot of pressure and it's a lot to just adjust to off the fly. That's why I think a situation like in Chicago with Andy Dalton and Justin Fields, I think that's a great situation, honestly. And I think that's going to be the best for Justin Fields in the long run is you have, while Andy Dalton doesn't have, Super Bowl rings to tote around and, and give him words of encouragement in that regard, but he's been in the league a while. He's grown up in the league. He's married, children. He's lived the life. He's been in the internet as a meme for God knows how long. Like he knows how to handle that pressure. And, you think about it. Lamar Jackson had the same deal. Patrick Mahomes had the same deal. They didn't go right in. They sat on the bench. They worked the bench for a little bit and then got their reps in. So it's a lot to ask for a rookie quarterback to come in and say, hey, you got the ball. The franchise is yours. Yes. Unless, of course, you're Bill Belichick and you got Mac Jones and you can feel very controlled in that environment. But I know you don't like him. So
don't like him.
I know his face has just got the walk on draft day for one. And his face just has it's a very hateable face. Like it looks like every frat guy you hated in college that wore back and was like, who do you know here?
Exactly. I think that's what it is. It's like my mind jumping back to college when I literally would walk into a frat house and it'd be like, oh my God, everybody here is Mac Jones. Like that's the bottom line. But yeah, no, I agree. It's tough for a rookie. And every once in a while you get that one rookie quarterback that comes out and you're like, whoa, can't believe he's doing that. But otherwise it's tough. And I always said, I think that Andy Dalton starting, I mean, it's not the most glamorous thing for the Bears. And we'll talk about Justin Fields' performance in a little bit, but I don't think it's that bad of a thing. You learn a little bit, you get used to everything, and then you go in.
It's kind of like, I mean, they signed Andy Dalton 1 year, $10 million contract. $10 million is not backup quarterback money. That is you're competing for a starting spot. And that's, you know, when I know we're going to talk Justin Fields, so I'll say, but then they trade up, they draft him at the 11th spot, which I think to this day, I still believe that we're going to be talking about how does Justin Fields drop to number 11 late in his career. But, you know, the fans are excited and they're like, we got this shiny new toy. Meanwhile, you've got, you know, the old wagon that we're still using, but it's reliable and it'll get you. And Andy Dalton he's a good guy. He wants to win. He's a team guy. And everybody kind of giving him hate for, you know, when he was asked about, because I guess at practice, you know, Justin Fields came on and everybody's cheering and people weren't cheering as much for Andy Dalton, or they were even booing him, which
I know. I feel so bad.
But he said, you know, he wants the fan support. He wants that. But he says, Justin's going to have a long career, but right now it's my time. And you want that. You want that competitive nature with somebody. If you're paying somebody $10 million to be on your football team, you want them to come in and want to compete for that spot. You don't want to be like, okay, I'm good. Like, I'll just sit here and collect my $10 million. Like you want that. And it's a good example for Justin Fields that every day you're going to come in, nothing's guaranteed. You got to earn your spot.
No, that's completely right. And it's just the bottom line. Unless you're Trevor Lawrence and you went into Jacksonville, like there's nobody there for you to, you know, kind of like figure out the starting spot there. Like he just got pushed into it. And we are seeing how Trevor Lawrence is performing right now. Not that great, to be honest. Like, no, he's not that Clemson golden boy that was in college. He's the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I haven't lost a game in the regular season since high school. It's like, welcome to the NFL, buddy. That's not going to happen anymore.
I know. Wake up call.
Exactly.
He's just like, oh crap. Now I have like 2 losses. Like this is rough.
Right. Oh, my favorite was, I forget, was it the Clemson and Georgia game where he and his wife went to? I feel so weird saying wife. The kid's like 21, 22.
I know.
Like, you have a wife. Okay. But you could just see his face like sitting there and it's just like, I said, buddy, you wish that was you, huh?
You know, some people, they just perform that, like they just like peak in college and that's fine. Like that's just where you thrive, but not everybody's going to be the same college quarterback they are in the NFL. It's just, it's a completely different game.
Right. Look at Johnny Manziel. Look at Tim Tebow.
Johnny Manziel. My goodness. What a name.
Quinn, if we want to bring it to Notre Dame. Oh
there's just, so not everybody works out, but getting back to, the Texans, I think that now with Tyrod out, I think he was kind of that shining light on that team a little bit. And now he's going to be out for at least a month. And I think that they're definitely going to start looking like the Texans that I think everybody expected the Texans to look like originally.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't think the Texans were going to be good. I didn't think they'd win week 1.
No.
But they did it. So I think that that's definitely going to be definitely downgrade for the Texans. Next year I have Jarvis Landry. And again, I don't know how long he's going to be out for, but he sprained his MCL. And even Baker Mayfield had a little bit of an injury scare in that game. And I, as a Baker Mayfield stan, was petrified for him because it looked like his arm fell out of his socket, basically.
Oh, and I think they said it was week to week with Jarvis Landry. So that could be.
Okay, so it's not terrible, but also they're missing OBJ. And I think we saw their offense struggle a little bit after Jarvis got hurt. I mean, Baker Mayfield was just running himself. Like he was just trying to get the first down because nobody was getting open for him. So, I mean, is it time for OBJ to like, I don't know what he's waiting for. Could he not be healed by now? Like everybody else who tore their ACL last year is back. Like, where's he?
Yeah. And everybody, everyone's kind of saying on Twitter that, everyone that the Browns were saying, no, this won't impact OBJ's return. It's like, yes, it will. Yeah. It absolutely will. And listen, you got a great backfield in Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. And that's going to, if there is no OBJ, if there is no Jarvis Landry next week, they're going to have to carry the majority of the weight against Chicago. And you got to believe that Bears defense is getting ready for that and preparing for it to be a big rushing game. But I think at this point, I mean, you gotta, like you said, what is he waiting for? He hasn't practiced fully. I know he's taken reps, he's taken passes, but they said he hasn't dressed for practice, hasn't taken, snaps, hasn't put on full uniform. Like,
did something happen?
That's what I'm wondering. Like something that maybe they're not talking about possible. Right. It'll be interesting to see if that something like that comes out closer to game time. Mm-hmm. But I mean, at this point, you gotta, looking at the AFC North too, where everyone's record's 1-1 right now. Mm-hmm. And everybody, even myself, a Ravens fan, I picked the Browns to win the AFC North this year because I just thought they were top to bottom, just very improved, stacked. And of course, the Ravens backfield, that's absolutely abysmal at this point. Everybody's on the injured reserve right now, but it's too competitive at this point. I think everybody, with the exception of the Cincinnati Bengals, the Steelers, the Ravens, and the Browns, it's a real toss-up for that division. And you can't afford, games are going to be too close. Games are going to be too big. You've got to be winning these games early on because they're going to matter down the stretch. That's, my prediction there, that it's going to come down to the wire for those three teams in the AFC North. So if OBJ is healthy, he better be getting his ass back into pads as soon as he heard that Juice was out.
Yeah, definitely. I just think that without the both of them, like, honestly, without OBJ there and Jarvis Landry there, I'm like, they don't really need OBJ, in my opinion. Like, I think that he really doesn't add anything to their offense. Like, he's not doing anything that's making them win games. Could be a good addition sometimes, but we saw him even last year when they were in the playoffs. Like, the Browns did fine without him. With Jarvis Landry out, though, that's what I was like, oh, they need at least somebody there. And Odell can step up and do that. But speaking of the Steelers, they took a big loss on yesterday's game, which I think is part of the reason why they even won the game last week against the Bills. And that's TJ Watt, who's out with a groin injury. Again, the fact that doing this like the day after Sunday is like not all the info is out on all these injuries yet.
I know, you're still waiting. You got like your notifications on. You're like,
I know, I'm sitting here like looking to see when he's going to be, because I think TJ Watt is basically holding this team together.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, this defense is holding this team together because the Steelers offense is just, they're not winning the games, right? It's the Steelers defense, and TJ Watt is obviously like the main part of this defense and Cam Hayward.
I think the big lesson from, their win against the Bills is that, granted, the offense is not anywhere near the best. It's not even I don't want to say it's not the best. It's certainly, the question I would have is, do you put Joe Burrow and the Bengals offense above the Steelers offense? I wouldn't say yet, but for me, that showed that the Steelers team, it's going to be different people and different parts of the game, or different parts of the team that are going to win games each week. And for them, obviously, it was it was TJ Watt and the defense. The steel curtain is back. Yeah. But I think it's just, you think of Big Ben and you think, Juju Smith-Schuster, you got Chase Claypool, and, it just, looking at their schedule, that the offense is not enough for them to win the division. It's not enough for them to get into the playoffs. So, and Big Ben knows that. And he said, that's why he took less money for, I think it was a 1-year deal. He said, I want TJ Watt to get the money, and that's key for them because TJ Watt is up there. He's easy contender for a defensive player of the year. Right. So hopefully, for the Steelers' sake, hopefully he's not out long-term. I'm not sure, who are they playing this? Oh no, they're playing the Bengals this week.
Yes, they are.
So that'll be, which I know we're going to talk about them in a little bit, but that'll be a challenge, for that defense. And although their offensive line looked a little wonky this week, but
get me started.
We'll talk about that in a little bit. But people were high on the Steelers saying, although they could be a sleeper team, they could, everyone's sleeping on them in the AFC North, but they'll take down the Ravens and the Browns in that division. I said, what are you talking about? No, they will not. Defense will win you games, sure, but you got to score points. That's how you win them. Got to score points to win too. That's it's got to be on both sides of the ball. So I hope TJ Watt is healthy. It's not long-term for him. I believe it was a groin strain, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. But if people, the funny thing is some of the reactions for people, they were like, you could clearly tell, and people were tweeting that some of you guys have never strained your groin before, and it shows like just how painful. And that's sort of like a muscle strain or pulling a muscle. Like, it's one of those injuries that I feel like can be even more naggy than like breaking a bone, because there's a clear treatment plan. There's, hey, 4 to 6 weeks, You'll be good. You can put pads on, practice with this muscle strain or like a muscle pull. You just got to wait. You have to wait that out. And there's you can rehab, you can ice it, you can do physical therapy, but it's your body at that point that says, all right, I'm good to go.
Yeah.
And if you're not a patient person, it's not a good injury to have. And, TJ Watt just coming off this deal, I'm sure he wants to be out on that field more than anything. So it'll be, just watching this game too. And, of course, watching the Raiders play Baltimore week 1.
Right.
That defensive line is just incredible. And Derek Carr is playing like a top 10 quarterback, which I've said he's kind of a slept on quarterback. I think I put him in Ryan Tannehill kind of in the same, where they really don't get the flat, like they would be a Carr, like if we're talking few quarterbacks as cars here, which has been a theme of mine, they would be like a car that people look at as like lower end, but it's actually like a great car. Like it's got nice features. It'll get you from point A to point B. But Derek Carr shined these past 2 weeks. And
new really haircut, new Derek Carr, like grew his hair out. And I was like, wow.
Yeah. I literally, I saw him in a post after last night's game. I saw him in a post game press conference. And do you ever hear that TikTok sound where it was like, I slowly started to be seduced by him. That was me. I was like,
you're like,
this attractive? Like, who?
Like, oh my God, he doesn't look like Sid from Toy Story anymore.
God, I know he has a lot of kids. He's got like 3 or 4 kids. I hope they did Toy Story for Halloween. That would be,
with the natural, like he always looks like he has like dark eyeliner on somehow.
That meme of him where it was like,
yeah, yes, from last year. Oh my God, yeah, Derek Carr definitely looking great for the Raiders.
That's one thing I love about the NFL like so much is just because I feel like there's distinct games where the distinct days where there are games and everybody's watching it. Whereas, baseball, basketball and hockey, it's all spread out. Yeah. Whereas the memes and the internet content are just all that much better and everybody catches on to it. And that's one of the best parts about like interacting on Twitter with fans is granted, there are some really bad parts about it, and it's just it's some toxic parts of fan bases, but for the most part, people are having fun with it. And it's, so I love that fun side of the game, but I digress.
I love Twitter. Twitter's a great place. Twitter is when you're with the right people and like the right people are interacting with your stuff. I love it. It's so great.
But then sometimes it gets on like the wrong side of Twitter and you're just like, block. Okay.
You're like, no, I can't deal with this today. Can't deal with this today.
Exactly. Well, like, did you see, and I just bring this up because we're on a podcast now, did you see that tweet that like went viral? That somebody said that they charge like $100 per podcast appearance and everybody was like hopping on and like roasting this dude.
Oh my God. No, I didn't see that, but damn, $100.
I remember when I first like learned the podcast game, something that, I took a General Assembly class in Manhattan. I think I brought that up on your last show I was on, but one thing she said, like, never pay for guests. Never. It's not something like anybody in the podcast community does. And that's never been the case. Whenever I've asked anybody to be on my show, no one has said, okay, what's my fee? Like, what do you pay? Like $50? I'm like, personally, if someone had said that to me, I'd be like, hey, I don't pay guests. Like, not my thing. But some people took it like very personally and were like, it's about community. It's about this. And I was like, yo, no one's holding a gun to your head and telling you to put this guy on your show. Just if somebody charges, just don't put them on the show.
Yeah, no, that's so weird. That's such a weird thing to do.
I think on both sides, it's just like a weird thing to do. Like, yeah. I understand like valuing your time as a creator and as somebody, I understand that, but it just feels like it's not the right space to do it is podcasting. It just feels odd. Like, yeah. Especially when most of us, like, I've never been asked what my fee was. I've never, like, it's just something you don't charge for guests to come on your show. If anything, like, it's more practice, it's networking, it's more getting more comfortable on a microphone. So
yes, exactly. I mean, like, it's like you're getting it's like an internship almost. Like you get the experience.
An unpaid internship.
Yeah, but in a good way.
which I know people are trying to get rid of now, but it's not the same. Like I get the, yeah, exactly. So I don't know. It was interesting because it started, he's a baseball guy that tweeted this, but it's quickly got to the fantasy football and the football space and all corners of sports at that point. So it's the interesting faces of Twitter.
Yeah, there are some weird people on Twitter. I gotta say, but in terms of injuries, I think the last person we have on here, oh no, 2 more people. Well, this one is the man that's made of glass. And I was expecting this from miles and miles away. Yeah. And Carson Wentz has literally sprained both of his ankles. Like literally what I thought of the second that I saw him go down is the guy in that SpongeBob episode when they're selling chocolate and he opens the door and he's like, every night my bones break and I have to I'm like, oh my God, it's Carson Wentz.
Yeah. Or what did SpongeBob and Patrick are dressed up and it's fake pretending to be injured, and then this guy who is also faking injured comes out and says, what happened with you guys? Oh, some of us are the lucky ones.
Yeah.
Glass bones and paper skin.
Paper skin. Literally the fact that he sprained not just one ankle, but both of them is just the most Carson Wentz injury in the world.
Aaron Donald roll over his feet too. So Aaron Donald's a unit. So I'm not shocked. I'm shocked it's only ankles are rolled.
I know. Point. Yeah, it could have been. I think somehow their legs got intertwined with each other. And then he was going down, pushing down Carson Wentz. And then Carson Wentz fell back and his leg was bent. And I mean, you're also Aaron Donald is literally putting all of his weight on you. So yeah, could have been a whole lot worse, a whole lot worse for him. But
it gives me flashbacks to Dak last year where his ankle was just ugh. But I mean, for me, and listen, the Colts go out and they get Phillip Rivers. He's not a Honda Civic, but he's kind of like a Honda Odyssey at that point. Got to make room for the kids. But going out and trading for Carson Wentz, I was just like, really?
Yeah.
Really?
The whole team is just falling on him now.
Exactly. And, not to mention, he came, one of the things that, I remember I was talking about it when the trade happened. I was like, listen, you're coming. He's familiar with the offensive coordinator. You've got a really impressive offensive line in Indianapolis. Where was that offensive line yesterday? My man was running around, rushing, scrambling, trying to keep his team in this game.
Rams defense, immaculate.
Oh.
They did not. I think they stopped them twice, on the line of the end zone. It was beautiful to see. The Rams defense is just insane.
Oh, everyone's kind of talks about, there's a lot of divisions being talked about, as the best, but top to bottom, I think the NFC West has got to be the best. So everyone's talking about the AFC North. I was like, the Bengals are kind of there, and depending on injuries, one of those 3 teams could drop out. But no, the NFC West, you've got serious competitors top to bottom. So, I mean, props. I mean, even watching Matthew Stafford out there, which, him getting constant disrespect over the years in Detroit, which me as a Dodgers fan, I love, because him and Clayton Kershaw's friendship, everybody knows about it at this point. And right after the game where he beats the Bears, the next night he comes and supports Clayton Kershaw on his start at Dodger Stadium. But That's is
so cute.
I know. And, Clayton's like, I wish I could have gone and saw him yesterday, at his game, but I'll catch him another time. But honestly, I'm happy for him, getting a second chance, getting another, shot with a new team, fresh start. Unfortunately for Jared Goff, he's not. Jared Goff had to pay the price for that, but,
it is what it is.
It happens. Say lovey.
Say lovey. Yeah, no, at Carson Wentz, I think this Colts team, everybody was like, whoa, Carson Wentz is there now. They're going to be spectacular. But they don't have T.Y. Hilton, which is their star receiver. Right. And I said it even back before he had to get surgery on his foot. I was like, there's no way Carson Wentz makes it through the season. He's only gone, in the 5 years he's been in the league, he's only made it through 2 seasons uninjured, which is not great. And one of those seasons was their Super Bowl run with the Eagles. And that's also not great. The fact that you halfway made it there. And then all of a sudden now Nick Foles is the winner in Philadelphia. So
Wentz doesn't have a statue, does he?
Carson Wentz does not have a statue, and that is telling. That is telling. But I think that without Carson Wentz on this team and Jacob Eason, which we were talking about before we recorded, Jacob Eason came in and threw an interception. It just did not look good for the Colts. Like, I think without Carson Wentz here, the Colts are not this competitive team that they're were originally.
I mean, even with Carson Wentz, not to say that they're not competitive, but I just think in that division, it's just with the Tennessee Titans in the division with you, it's just you really don't stand a chance. Maybe if Carson Wentz stayed healthy, which with 2 rolled ankles, he's probably icing them as we speak. He'll probably do what he can to get back onto the field for Sunday. I believe they're Sunday. Yeah, they're not the Monday night game. So Sunday, but I mean, at this point, which is such a shame because Jonathan Taylor was one of my favorite people to watch last year. I thought he was a guy, like even with Phillip Rivers, just really stepped up and put it down for the Indianapolis Colts. But I mean, here you go out and get this guy. And meanwhile, Carson Wentz didn't put up an impressive year last year. Like, you thought this was the move?
And he's injury prone.
Exactly.
And he's has not only just this injury, just all of the injuries. And he just had surgery. And it's so frustrating to think people put Carson Wentz on this pedestal. And I'm like, he's okay. He's like fine. A mediocre quarterback. Like, he is fine, but also just not this amazing quarterback that everyone expects him to be. That's just my opinion.
No, I agree. I think now what's funny, we're talking about the Eagles fan base and, Jalen Hurts putting on the show that he did last week. And then of course, yesterday things did not go as well with him and his man in the yellow hat suit, but
oh my God, horrid.
He's a good looking dude. So I feel like he can rock anything. So I was just kind of like, okay. But then you kind of look at the suit and it reminds me of Cam Newton's. Do you remember Cam Newton's yellow suit last year?
I think so.
It was like week 1. Like, my thing is, if you're going to dress that way, if you're going to wear something that stands out, show out on the field. That's my thing.
Yeah. No, I mean, again, yeah, you're right. Jalen Hurts is a good looking guy, but I don't know that it was a highlighter yellow.
Yeah.
Like my softball yellow.
Yes.
And I was like,
exactly.
This is not really the best look.
They got Gardner Minshew as their backup. So it's honestly, Gardner Minshew and Eagles fans would be an interesting combination if he should ever see the field.
Oh my God. Yeah, no, Gardner Minshew, honestly, I think he's one of the best backups that you could have.
Oh, agreed.
He's reliable. He's cool. First of all, I mean, he had his mullet for a while and now he doesn't have his mullet anymore, but I still think that he's we saw him what he did in Jacksonville. I think that Gardner Minshew is a really solid backup to have. Absolutely.
And I mean, I would say him, AJ McCarron, not a bad, he's still a backup, I think, or maybe he's a third string. I know he's in Atlanta now. Well, you got Mitch Trubisky in Buffalo.
Very true. Mitch Trubisky, who I think is, I mean, I don't know how well he'll play with the Bill. I mean, God forbid, I would never, ever want Josh Allen to go down. Never in a million years. I would probably cry myself to sleep. But Mitch Trubisky, I don't know. It's pretty interesting to see how he plays with. I mean, he played well in preseason against the Bears, so there's a solid amount of backups here. But speaking of the Bears, let's talk about this Bengals Bears situation. And obviously, Andy Dalton got hurt to end our injury talk and to move on to a couple more games here. So Andy Dalton got hurt. Justin Fields came into the game. Did okay. I mean, the Bears won, but I think what we were talking about before, a little bit more time to learn this game is probably a little better. And then we'll get into the Bengals, which I have a lot of thoughts about. But what were your thoughts on Justin Fields' performance? Do you think that he's ready, or do you think that it's time to kind of figure things out? Maybe Nick Foles goes in.
I think for one stat line, he did okay. I think it's a lot to ask for a rookie quarterback to come in during the game and expect just outstanding results. I get I get the fan base being excited because you're like, yes, this is time. This is it. This is the future. Yes. But, like good things take time, and you got to let people like really, like we were talking about, like adjust to the game. And I know Andy Dalton, there's no ACL tears, just a bone bruise, and to be determined if he's healthy. They said if he's healthy, he will be the starter against the Cincinnati Bengals, which of course I know Bears fans are punching walls just hearing that.
I know.
But I think, you got to be patient with it. And as a sports fan, I know that's not easy to do. But when you're amidst this changing of the guard here, I mean, and I get it for Bears fans, it's frustrating. In 2018, you go to the playoffs and lose to the Philadelphia Eagles off the double doink, killing your playoff chances. The next year, what did they finish? 8-8 last year?
I think so.
8-8 are pretty close. They're pretty close to being in a wild card spot, missing the playoffs. So it's hard to not feel like you're going backwards, but you've got this shiny new toy now. He went in there, he held his own, threw an interception, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
But still was able to, keep up, complete a few passes. So is it time for Nick Foles yet? I mean, obviously if Andy Dalton's injured, Nick Foles will be on the line, at some point in some capacity, right, whether it's as the starting quarterback or as the backup. But it's funny because I predicted that week 3, Justin Fields would have the football. I said
week 4, so that's funny.
And I hate saying, because I hate rooting for the downfall of somebody, and this has nothing to do with the downfall of Andy Dalton. I wish him all the best, and he can I just don't think he's the starting quarterback in this NFL anymore.
No.
And I feel bad for him because he's, like I said, such a good guy. He wants to win. He's a team guy. I mean, he's tried and came and filled in that role in Dallas when Dak went down, and obviously that didn't do much for him. But he goes into the offseason really wanting to be a starter. He gets that 1-year, $10 million contract. Like I said before, $10 million. That's not backup quarterback. You're not paying somebody $10 million to sit on your bench and come in for 1 or 2 games. But I think at this point in time, not to say he needs to give up, but not give up. That's not the right word. But I think Andy Dalton is starting, and I'm sure he is at this point in time. And that's got to be hard to come into a situation where you want to be the starter, but the fan base wants something else. I'm sure his teammates are pretty divided on if they want Andy Dalton or Justin Fields as their quarterback. Like, that's got to be hard for somebody to come in and want that, especially a guy that wants nothing more than for the team to win and for them to get the win on Sunday, Thursday or Monday, whenever they're playing. So, I mean, if I had to predict something, I mean, it wasn't awful for Justin Fields. So I say, if Andy Dalton is out this week and he can't start, I say give Justin Fields the ball, especially if you're playing against the Cincinnati Bengals. They're 1-1. Their defense, that's the way I look at it.
Well, what's interesting is that I think that if we saw the Bengals from week 1 against this Bears team, I think it would have been a very different game. Like, if the Bengals that won in overtime over the Vikings, like, where was that team? That team just didn't even show up to week 2. I was like, wow, this is gonna be really great. Like, Joe Burrow's ready.
They're playing the Browns. I'm sorry. I was like, wait, the Bengals are playing the Steelers. They're playing the Browns this week. So
yeah, no, I don't. The Bengals. I have a lot of feelings about the Bengals because I love Joe Burrow, and I don't want to see the man get hurt again, because if he goes down again, it's going to be very hard for him to come back. And I wanted them to draft offensive line in the first round, and they took Jamar Chase, which he's doing great. I think I have no animosity towards Jamar Chase. I think he's a great receiver, and him and Joey B are like, they're buddies. I get it.
Yeah.
Last week, 5 sacks on Joey B. This week, 4 sacks. And that's not even including quarterback pressures and just touching the quarterback.
Right.
I'm like, what? Like, there's still a disconnect here. Where is the offensive line for the Bengals? Like, this is what you needed to work on, and you just didn't work on it. And it's so frustrating to me because I don't want Joe Burrow to get hurt again. But yeah, it's I don't know what happened from last week to this week, but this is not the same Bengals that we saw last week.
No, absolutely not. And they're going to have a rude wake-up call against the Steelers with or without TJ Watt. But my big thing with just them pick is everyone was thinking they were going to take Penei Sewell with their pick.
Yes.
You have Joe Burrow go down. You need to protect your young quarterback. That's key. An offensive line. I mean, I feel like an offensive line is kind of like pitching in Major League Baseball, where you can never have enough good pitching. You can never have a strong enough offensive line. There's never enough protection at that point. You can always improve there. And just from a draft standpoint, this past year, the wide receiver class was just very deep. Like, you could have gotten a great weapon in the second and third round. Yes. Whereas an offensive lineman, if you're talking about a high-ranked offensive lineman, the jump from a first round, like high draft, to lower, second, third, fourth round is huge. It's a big gap. And Penei Sewell's he's on the Detroit Lions now. He's holding his own there. I haven't had a chance to watch the Detroit Lions play, but I will tonight. But from what I'm seeing and what I'm reading from last week, he did all right for his first NFL game. So I definitely agree with you, and I share your sentiments as they made the wrong move. And like you said, Jamar Chase, he's a talent, and I get why they went with him in the first round. You've got that connection to your franchise quarterback already, but just wasn't the right investment.
No. And the thing is too, like, okay, so now you have Jamar Chase and he's great. And obviously there's chemistry between him and Joe Burrow. Why are they not utilizing him more? I feel like he's always throwing to the tight end, Higgins. Like, that's who his like main target is, which is fine. Like, he's a great tight end, but you did this whole big thing in order to get Jamar Chase, and like has just been getting hit from all sides about like someone like me who's just been screaming about offensive line for the past how many months. But I just like, why are they not, they feel like they're not even hitting him until like the end of the game. And I'm like, if you went through all this, like, why not use him more? I don't know. The Bengals just seem like they have a little bit of an issue, and they just need to work through that a little bit and work on their offensive line, because
a little bit.
If Joe Burrow, I swear to God, I will personally walk up to whatever front office person in Cincinnati, and if Joe Burrow goes down again, I will be like, this is your fault. This is all your fault.
Get a one-way trip to Cincinnati.
I will literally buy the plane ticket, because I'm like, it makes me so angry. But yeah, in terms of the Bengals, maybe they went in with too much confidence this week after the win last week. I don't know, but I don't think that the Bengals will be able to hold up against the Steelers.
Nah, I don't think so either. And thinking back to, I know I mistakenly said that they're playing the Bengals, but thinking back to the Bears and who you're starting, you got to think you're playing Myles Garrett and the Browns defense. Putting a young Justin Fields against one of the best defensive players in the game is a tall order.
That's a wake-up call.
That is a wake-up call. That's probably not something they want to do. So maybe they put in it. If it comes down to it, Andy Dalton can't play. I think he's healthy. He absolutely goes in. Yeah. But I wouldn't be surprised if I just don't think that's fair. If you've already held this guy out, I get holding him out against the Rams, but if you're going to hold him out against the Bengals, like, you can't put him out because they played the Bengals played the Bears. Yes. This past week. Yes. I get so, when you're talking about next week and this week, I get all jumbled. Yes. But if you're going to hold him out against the Bengals, like, you can't throw him in on the Browns. Like, you can't say you want to ease him in and ease the transition and be like, here.
Yeah. Now deal with Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
Well, that's like throwing him to the piranhas or something.
Literally.
That would be a rough start.
Swim. You're good.
You're fine. No floaties. You're a big boy. You got this.
You can do it. Just keep paddling.
It's like when you've like learned to swim in like the shallow end of the pool, and all of a sudden your parent like picks you up and they just drop you in the deep end, and they're like, you were just doing it over there, and you're like, I could touch over there. I can't touch here.
There's a difference.
There's a difference. But yeah, I'm slightly concerned for Justin Fields, slightly concerned for the Bengals, but someone who I'm most concerned about is our small little boy named Zach Wilson.
Our little Disney prince.
He is a Disney prince, and I think he's trying so hard. I've said it last week, and I said it in preseason, like, he looks like he's putting his all out there, which could be detrimental to his playing. But Zach Wilson threw for 4 interceptions in this game, looking like the same old Jets that they always are. And I don't think that this team is the same old Jets. I do think that there's a little bit more potential here. But what do you think about Zach Wilson here? Because he just looked so bad. Nobody's helping him out offensive line. Nobody's helping out in his receivers. It's just not good.
It's funny enough, I was in Carolina last weekend. So the game I got to watch and I was in a house that didn't have red zone, of course. So I had to watch the local broadcast, which happened to be the Carolina Panthers playing the New York Jets. So I got a nice look at Sammy on the other side of the ball and Zach Wilson in his NFL debut. And oh my God, the amount of times this kid was sacked. This offensive line is absolute garbage for one. Yeah. But I think secondly, I mean, four interceptions on 10 pass attempts.
10 pass attempts.
And he intercepted the ball 4 times. Like, listen, and I feel awful because, you know, I don't think the kid deserves to get booed. I don't think, you know, and that's apparently what was going on at MetLife during the Jets home opener. I do think that coming in as how old is he? He's 20 years old?
22, I think.
No, he's 22. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. I actually looked it up last night because I was like, this kid's got to be like 19. No,
my 19-year-old brother looks older than he does. Oh my God. But it's a tall order to come in and to a fan base, for one, like the New York Jets that have just been suffering, especially the last, 10, 11 years. And you know, the last 3 years of just so much pain with Adam Gase and Sam Darnold. And no, that wasn't Sam Darnold's fault. It was Adam Gase's fault. But you know, you've got the new head coach. You've got, Douglas, the GM, I think in his second season, if I'm not mistaken. And you get this shiny brand new toy that you use with the second overall pick. Yep. And, you know, I get it. Be excited, but keep your expectations where they are, like down on the ground. This is a process and you got to just stick with it. So the fact that he's being booed, I don't think is fair to him. I understand if you want to boo just being a Jets fan. Yeah, that sucks. I don't know why you would do that to yourself, but you know, the fact that he had to answer to the boos at the other, during the press conference and, he handled it with grace. He handled it well, but it's a tall order to come in and do that, especially as a rookie. I mean, meanwhile, on the other side of the ball, you got Mac Jones, who has, the man that murders rookie quarterbacks. And basically, what is it? What's the word? What's the word? I'm blanking on it. What's the word? Like initiate? No, like hazes new rookie quarterbacks.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Like just destroys them and just builds them back. Like, I mean, Mac Jones, I got it here, 22 for 30, 186 yards, me, on the day. A solid showing from a rookie quarterback. And he was very nice, on his comments about fellow Zach Wilson. But like we've been talking about with rookies, it's still so early.
Oh, so early.
So early. And with Jets fans, they just need to, I know it's very hard for some New York fan bases to be patient, but just, buckle down, play with the process. This is, like I said, new head coach, new quarterback. It's a new era, but it's going to take time. And, this kid's, it's terrifying. I can't even imagine the nerves of playing. Not only did the first NFL game last week, which
he played well last week.
He did okay. Given the lack of help on the offensive line and who he was playing against, He did okay. I also do think that Sam Darnold shining and starting off on 2-0 in Carolina really doesn't show well for the New York Jets. No. It kind of makes them seem like, when a girl gets out of a relationship and she just glows up, she thrives, opportunities come her way. She's healthier. She's taking care of herself. Yeah. It obviously helps having Christian McCaffrey at your disposal, but also, Sammy's just living his best life. And he got out of that relationship and I'm so happy for him. Like really, I was rooting for him because
it was toxic.
Oh, absolutely. And the Jets are a toxic ex-boyfriend at this point in time. And, unfortunately, Zach Wilson is dealing with a lot of that baggage at this point in time. But I think it's too early to write the kid off. I think it's too early to call him a bust. I think it's way too early to be booing him at your home opener.
Yeah.
But some people are like, no, they're booing the Jets. They're booing the last 11 years. I was like, that's not what it seems like.
No, it's sad. And the thing is that like, it's more like the Jets organization is that toxic boyfriend, and Sam Darnold is the ex-girlfriend who is glowed up. And Zach Wilson is the new girlfriend who's like, I can fix you. I can do this. Like he's like, I'm here. I can do this. Like, I can make you better. I can make you not toxic. And he's trying.
Good. I see the good in him. Like, he can change. Like,
and it's like, you're like, maybe, but like, are you going to be able to do that? But I mean, hopefully I honestly want to see Zach Wilson thrive. I want to see the Jets do well and have a better organization than they do. But yeah, it was just not a good look. And comparing it obviously to Michael McCorkle-Jones, who I cannot stand, but I think he did, out of all of the rookie quarterbacks this week, had one of the better games. So he's working, but he's also working with Bill Belichick and with a totally different type of organization with the New England Patriots. So I honestly, this question was proposed to me the other day, and I thought it was kind of outlandish, but also a thought. And they said, do you think Mac Jones is the future of the NFL? And I'm like, for one, I think it's too early to say that. But also, what if he ends up being someone that they like, down the line, they're like, yeah, everybody was like ready for him to come into the league. But I don't know. I think it's a little too early to think of all that, but it's a thing to put in the back of your brain.
It's interesting because I really think that the NFL, like, Mac Jones really has some of the pocket passer qualities I see more. And maybe that's just the system that Bill Belichick's running right now to kind of ease him into the league, because he is one of those quarterbacks that was like, hey, here's the ball. Go carry the New England Patriots, a franchise and a team that's won 6 Super Bowls as of recently. Right. So I do think that, they're limiting him a little bit. It'll be interesting to see if they, open up the offense a little bit and allow him to, hey, be mobile, run around a little bit, make some big passes. But I mean, for so far, starting 1-1, not terrible for him. As far as the future goes, it's just hard to give him that label when you've got a guy like Kyler Murray doing what he's doing in Arizona. And I said, when I see Mac Jones doing things like that, which granted, Kyler Murray wasn't doing those things in his first 2 NFL games either. So, I'm not saying he can't eventually be that or he won't ever be that. But I think if you're pointing to a player that's like, no, the future of the NFL, like, I think you got to be as athletic, as agile, as precise as a Kyler Murray to be a valuable quarterback in the future. But it'll be interesting to see. It's always funny to see. We see these rookies, and unfortunately, it's sad. Like, some of these guys are going to go on and be franchise quarterbacks. They're going to go on, have long careers, and some of them are going to fizzle out. And that's just, it's sad, but that's the reality of the situation. An NFL career is not guaranteed for everybody.
Absolutely. Let's talk about Kyler Murray for a second, because my God,
I love talking about our baby Yoda.
Oh, baby Yoda he really is. I have done nothing but enjoy watching him play. And I have been hyping up the Cardinals for so long, and everybody has been like, no. And I'm like, yes. And Kyler Murray put on a show yesterday. They ended up winning, obviously, just because of a missed field goal. The Vikings.
That field goal was terrible.
It was only 37 yards. It really was doable.
It was like, you like
really
where
hard.
My guy.
I know. It was like, we were like, what's happening here? But Kyler Murray, despite throwing 2 interceptions in this game, he threw 29 for 36, 400 yards, and 3 touchdowns. I think he is just incredible to watch. He's quick, he's fast, he's mobile. He hurls the ball down the field and is like, D-Hop's out there somewhere, and he usually is. And I'm so excited to see where the Cardinals end up in the rest of this. And they're kind of my dark horse in the NFC West. And I had this feeling that it's possible that they might win the West. So I'm curious to say what you think of that.
Absolutely. Honestly, I completely agree. I've been a Kyler Murray fan for I mean, I don't want to say like I'm not a lifelong fan, but I remember when he was being talked about because he went into the MLB draft and the NFL draft. And it was kind of the choice. Do you play football? Do you play baseball? Is he going to the Oakland A's, or is he playing football with the Arizona Cardinals? And I am so glad he's playing football.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he is glad too, because right now you're off to a 2-0 start in one of the best divisions in football. Absolutely, they're going to compete for that division title. The Rams, everyone, I know a lot of people say the Rams have it locked up, but Rams have it far from locked up. I will be looking forward to that first Cardinals and Rams matchup, because that's going to be a great game. Great game.
I cannot wait for that. It's going to be so good.
That is circled on my calendar. Absolutely. But in just 2 games, I actually have it here. 689 passing yards, 51 rushing yards, 7 passing touchdowns, and 2 rushing touchdowns. But 700 yards, almost 700 yards in just 2 games. I'm curious to see. I'm curious to see also 400 yards in an NFL game. How many times, what's the youngest quarterback to do that is my question. I'm going to have to look that up once we get off of here. But yeah. I mean, for me, the guy's, how old is he? 22, 23? He's young.
Probably, I would say closer to 23 or 24.
Kylie
right? Because he's been in the league now for almost 3 years. Has it been 3 years already?
He's 24. Okay. He's 24.
Okay.
August 7th. Oh, he's a Leo. Okay. Sorry.
Good to know.
Good to know.
This is what we need to know.
Yeah. Okay. I was like, he was younger. I was all right.
Maybe because he's a little bit small, but
he's what, 5'10"?
They say he's 5'10". I don't think he's 5'10".
I don't think he's got.
I think with his cleats and his helmet on, he's 5'10". I think he's closer to like 5'9", maybe like a high 5'8".
Yeah, watch. They're taking the team measurements, and he's going out for practice. They're like, "Hey, put your helmet on. Just stand here. Just stand here."
He's like, "I'm not on my tippy toes."
Oh my God, no! But absolutely, as we were talking about, the NFC West is going to be a tough battle between all 4 teams. But I mean, the Rams all but have it locked up, and I'm sure they know that they're not going to be sleeping on any of their division opponents. But absolutely, the Arizona Cardinals, because who are they playing this week? I wish I had the week 3 schedule right.
I know. I should have printed it out and had it in front of me, but
I should have for this show. That's poor planning on my part. But they're playing the Jaguars. Okay, that's another win.
So a 3-0 start for the Cardinals.
Kyler could play with one hand the entire game, and he would probably win. Blindfold DeAndre Hopkins, play on one foot, and you're good. They'll win. Yeah.
But I love watching the Cardinals play, and I loved watching them last year as well. And that's what kind of was like, they're going to be no joke this year. And it's great. And
they had a lot of games last year where they really fought back and were competitive with a lot of big teams, especially what was that late game against the Seattle Seahawks, where Arizona defense just shut down Russell Wilson and DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, and for a close win near the end. This is a team, and adding JJ Watt to that defense as well. JJ knew what he was doing as far as picking a team. He wants to win. He wanted a winning culture. People were saying, "Oh no, go to Pittsburgh," which I was like, please don't do that. Yeah.
Can't have all 3 Watts in one place. It's like getting
too much.
It's like Marvel little thing here. It's like getting all the Infinity Stones on a gauntlet. Like all the Watts in one place is like, no, we can't do that.
I gotta spread them out. ESPN won't know what to do with themselves either.
Oh my God, they would be losing their mind. Every week it would just be like Watt Central.
Every camera shot that they're in together, where even if they're not standing next to each other, be like, Watt brothers sighting. All 3 of them.
They are. We found them.
Every game, and every game prior where that would happen, I'm like, okay, we get it, they're brothers. One cute shot, okay, now let's play football.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, I'm like I said, excited for the Cardinals, happy that the Vikings ended up missing that, because otherwise they would have lost that game. But
Vikings to an 0-2 start though. I
kind of said that I was not I didn't think that the Vikings were going to do great this year. I don't know.
Well, who they lose? They lost Kyle Rudolph. Kyle Rudolph's a Giant now.
I love Kyle Rudolph.
Notre Dame boy. I love him too.
Yes.
But I just thought with last year, like the way Dalvin Cook really just carried that offense. But I think now you're really seeing like how much he carried of that team. And, I just assumed, not to say I assumed he would repeat, because I think Dalvin Cook's one of the most he just constantly gets disrespected as far as in the running back rankings. People still have him down the line. They said, this dude was putting up an MVP season last year.
Yeah, he's incredible.
Carrying that team the first half of the season. But Kirk, I love Kirk's a good guy, but he's not my quarterback. I'm not rocking with Kirk.
Nah, I don't think Kirk's really doing all that great stuff for the Vikings, but that's a whole other thing that we could get into.
Topic.
Real quick before we get into your Ravens versus the Chiefs, I want to talk to you about the Titans, because the Titans are this team I was expecting to be a lot better. In week 1, they really were not that good. They came out with this overtime win against Seattle this week. But there was that call, that Julio touchdown in the end zone where he was very obviously in bounds. They replayed it and they completely just were like, nope, his heel was out. And I've seen so many pictures from so many angles. In what simulation are we living in? What is going on? I don't like that. For me, I was like, this is ridiculous.
The officiating has been absolute garbage this year. Like absolute garbage. And it feels like in every sport. I'm not sure what I don't know whether it's COVID. I don't know what's happening here, but it just feels like every sport and I get it. It's part of the game. I understand, like, that's part of being a sports fan. Some calls are going to go your way, some are not. But in 2021, with the amount of video replay we have, with every angle, especially in the NFL that's covered. I mean, you go to a game, you got the hovering camera coming over where you can see at every angle. How do you not see that that's a touchdown? There's no excuse. And even then, if you need extra lenses, you go to New York and you got those people that look at it and give the final call. What is this?
It looks like such a bad look, because like the more you look at it, the more it's like, yeah, no, his heel was in bounds. He was in bounds, and that was a touchdown. And if the Titans like lost this game, everybody would have been like erupted in flames. Like they were like, that touchdown should have counted. The Titans should have won this game. Like I think they're lucky that they ended up winning in overtime, because otherwise they would have been like they've been ravaging, like just like, I can't believe this happened. But it was just not good.
Which is disappointing, because Derrick Henry had an amazing game. So if it were to end like that, that would have been just a gut punch to which that's a man. I love watching Derrick Henry play football. Like I call him, he's a bulldozer. Like he gets the ball and everybody parts like the Red Sea. Like he just knocks dudes. Like there's no stopping him. I mean, the Ravens were able to do it last year in the playoffs, but we won't talk about last year. It's fine. But I'm trying to get my words together here. I was too busy talking about bulldozing, but I mean, it was just, I did not expect them to go, 0-1 to start the season, but, needing this bounce back game against the Seattle Seahawks is huge. Who are they playing next week? Like I said, I should have had this in front of me.
I know, we were like, yeah, who are they playing next week? And then we realized, like, we don't have the schedule in front of us.
I should have, especially because we had to pick game. Where are you? The Titans. But everybody, I remember I did like these preseason polls, and everybody picked the Titans to win the AFC South.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Almost. Well, not everybody. There were some people that have no idea what they're talking about. But
some people probably said the Colts, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Which is ridiculous.
Idiots.
Yeah. No, but Derrick Henry last week only had 58 yards. So obviously, that was part of the reason why the Titans weren't great last year.
Right.
Last week rather. But this week, 182 yards on 35 carries and 3 touchdowns. Like, this is the Derrick Henry we were expecting.
This is the Derrick Henry we know and love. And you brought it. You actually guessed it. They're playing the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday.
Oh, I just realized that is one of my look for games next week, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But that is like, that's going to be very telling because so many people are like, well, it could be the Colts, it could be the Titans. So I'm very excited for that. But yeah, in terms of this, I think this is now the Titans team that everyone was expecting week 1 and didn't get. So I think that the Titans are figuring it out. And maybe there was a little slight power balance between AJ Brown and Julio Jones coming into the mix. Maybe they needed a little bit of a, just 1 week to figure that out. You know what I mean?
I feel like week 1 is kind of just like a carryover of the preseason. Because a lot of teams don't start their starters. Like Sean McVay didn't let Matthew Stafford see a snap in the preseason. No. Aaron Rodgers didn't play in the preseason. So I really take week 1, while sometimes it's telling, I take it with a grain of salt a lot of times because in some instances, a lot of teams, there's new characters, new faces. You got to figure out how to play together at a high competitive level. You got the crowd noise impacted, and these games count. And it's that added pressure in there, which is why, I know we'll probably talk about Jameis Winston and the Saints in a little bit, but that's why like last week's game against the Packers, I'm kind of like, kind of a fluke for me, in my opinion. Clear as day that the Packers are a better team and that's not going to be the norm. Aaron Rodgers is not going to have that abysmal of a game every week. So week 1, like while you want to win, you want to get off to a good start. Like the Jaguars won week 1 last year and then lost the rest of their games. Right. So it's literally like, is it an important week? Of course, it's the start of the NFL season, but it's not tell all for the season. So first Titans fans, while it probably was disappointing, especially if you're coming in expecting to win the division this coming year. I mean, this team's going to be fine. You took Russell Wilson and the Seahawks to overtime, and next week you got a division rival in the Indianapolis Colts. They're going to be okay.
Yeah. And the Titans, I think, are once they figured it out, I think that they are going to be just as good as they were last year, if not better, now that they have Julio in the mix and their offense is only getting stronger. I think that is what's good for them. But yeah, before we get into the Ravens really quick, Jameis Winston and the Saints did not perform the way we thought. I mean, last week they were like unstoppable. This week we're seeing 2019 Jameis Winston again, threw for 2 interceptions. What do you think? Do you think that this was do you think that this was Jameis, or do you think this was, this Panthers defense that just was like balling out, or a combination of both?
I think it was a combination of both, honestly. I'm not a Jameis fan just personally. I think this Saints team is trying to find some identity in the post Drew Brees era. And I mean, that week 1, it's really interesting because as I just said, week 1 is kind of like an extra preseason game. It really can be a week where you ride the momentum and really just kind of take that with you. And this Saints team has the talent and has the faces and the, like I said, the weapons on this team to be able to carry that, at least until Michael Thomas gets back, and there'll be even more of a problem for teams. But I mean, Alvin Kamara, what numbers did he put up? I didn't see anything from him.
I don't think so. I think that he really upset some fantasy owners there.
Alvin Kamara, 5 yards, averaged 0.6 yards in the game. Horrible.
So the Panthers defense really was like, they're surprising me. I wasn't expecting the Panthers defense to be like this incredible defense, but they're doing phenomenal.
Let me tell you, and I know this doesn't say much because it was the New York Jets they were playing against week 1, but watching them just toy around with Zach Wilson and the New York Jets O-line, I was like, listen, I'm taking this with a grain of salt, but dang, this team is good.
Yeah, very good. Very good. I think a lot of people were undermining the Panthers, even with Sam Darnold getting in the mix.
Right. And so, I mean, when you got Sam Darnold, you're expecting him to carry over some of that New York Jets karma. And, he's just going to still be Sam Darnold, but clearly not. Clearly not. You got a healthy Christian McCaffrey. You got his friend Robbie Anderson helping him out as well. His first touchdown as a Panther was a pass to Robbie Anderson. I said, that's kind of against the Jets. I said, kind of perfect. So, I mean, I wouldn't say the Panthers are necessarily coming out. I mean, they're in a division with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So they won't be coming after the division, but they certainly a lot of progress. Hopefully knock on wood, Christian McCaffrey staying healthy. They will always stand some form of a chance against any team, I think.
For sure. So let's talk about Sunday Night Football here. Let's talk about your Baltimore Ravens finally coming out after previously three matchups against the Chiefs losing, coming into Sunday Night Football, which I was expecting this kind of offensive, battle going back and forth and scoring and being very, very close the entire game. But I think the best part of this whole game was that 4th and 1 conversion and John Harbaugh on the side going, Lamar, are we going for it? And he was like, let's go. And I was like, I am amped. I'm not even a Ravens fan. I am amped up. So I can only imagine how you were live tweeting and just like freaking out. So what were your thoughts as a whole for this Ravens team finally getting a win?
I mean, first of all, if you're 4th and 1 and you've got Lamar Jackson as your quarterback, you go for it. I was like, listen, if you can get it into field goal range, cool. Like Justin Tucker's there, but not field goal range. Excuse me. They would have punted it, but get it. You got one of the best kickers in the game, but you got Lamar there. Seal the deal. Don't give another chance for the Chiefs to get the football. They're too good of a team. I mean, this game was a whole roller coaster of emotions, especially after that loss against the Raiders, and especially after having 15 players on the injured reserve, which is still absurd. Even I want to give a shout out to Latavius Murray. He has been, and Devonta Freeman. They have been amazing in the backfield for the Ravens. But it was definitely a game where I was like, okay, leading up to it days, I remember saying, listen, this is a game where low expectations, just given the fact that it is the Kansas City Chiefs. But if the Ravens pull this out, this is going to be huge. Like, huge. What a bounce back. You go from losing in overtime to the Raiders to beating the Kansas City Chiefs. And I was just kind of like manifesting that in my head leading up to it. But then of course the nerves kick in, leading up to game time. And I knew, just kind of thinking it through, I said, listen, the Ravens have what it takes to win this game. They've just got to be smart, because that was so many dumb penalties in the game against the Raiders that cost them. So I said, if they play smart against this Kansas City team, do not give them any free yardage, which didn't end up happening, but that's football. That's with every team. I don't need to tell you about penalties, but I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But obviously, at the start of the game, I was, I told you before we hit record, I was driving. And of course, that pick six right off, first play of the game did not go so well. So I was not good listening in my car. And then, of course, reset, get that out of your system. Game's not over. Come back, score a touchdown immediately, tie game. Fine. And I remember I was listening in the car driving back and thinking, okay, we're going to win. Something just tells me that the Ravens are going to win this football game. I don't know what it is or how it's going to be done, by what margin, but something tells me it's going to happen. And I get in halftime. And the thing with the Kansas City Chiefs that makes it even more aggravating and terrifying to play against them is you've got that 1-2 hit of Mahomes and Kelsey, where if Mahomes finds Kelsey anywhere on the field, any spot open, he's going to get the ball to him. And he's made that insane run for 65 yards, just like down, dodging each tackle, which was awful.
I mean, he's incredible though.
What was that? But, and everyone kind of assumes that, hey, the Ravens, if the Chiefs end up getting the football again, they're going to score. That's just what you do. You take the lead, the Chiefs come back. That's how it goes playing against them. And I just, despite that horrible play from the defense, I got to give a shout out to Odafe Owe for hands down the turning point of the game was that interception on recovery on Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Oh, beautiful.
That's what won the game.
Oh, absolutely. I say we need a big stop here like that. Otherwise the Chiefs are getting the ball downfield. Either they wait the timeout, kick a field goal, game over. But that stop was everything. And I got to be honest, I'm not too impressed with Clyde Edwards-Helaire all around, but we won't talk about that. Not that impressed. Sorry. But it was, and you spoke it so perfectly, that moment where Lamar, and not before that, the Lamar cartwheel was a chef's kiss moment.
Oh, yes.
Like, just so perfect. Everybody's tackling, and there's Lamar just running around them. Like, okay.
Not one person around him.
Let me just cartwheel in the end zone. It's fine. But that vote of confidence that John Harbaugh put into Lamar Jackson there, that I thought spoke volumes.
It's very telling.
He's the leader, and how much confidence and trust that not only John Harbaugh, but the entire Ravens organization have in their quarterback. And that's what you want. He's the play caller. Put him in there, and I'm sure Aaron Rodgers was watching that and very upset because he does not have that in Green Bay. As I'm sure if he had his choice of play call in the NFC Championship game, he would have gone for it on 4th and goal rather than kick a field goal. So I think, just bouncing back, like just no quit mentality in this Ravens team certainly makes them a contender. And honestly, I bet a lot of people wrote them off in the AFC North after last week's game against the Raiders. But this team just took down the Chiefs. Probably one of the best teams. I would put them up there. Them and the Buccaneers I would put up there and just took them down. So, hey, there's no quit in this team. We'll see. They got the Lions coming up next week. We'll see how the Lions do tonight. But if as long as everybody continues to stay healthy, I'm praying, dear God, stay healthy. But I'm excited. This just made me all the more excited for this season. Going into that Raiders game, it was a very, not to say somber, but you don't have a Gus Edwards. You don't have a J.K. Dobbins. You're just there. You're saying, okay, we'll see what comes of this season. Mm-hmm. But listen, you beat them. I think the Chiefs had one player on the IR compared to 15. I said, you don't have most, and you're missing a chunk of your starters, and you still got to win off Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback in the league right now.
Absolutely.
Who else can't you beat?
Right.
No excuse at this point, anybody else.
Yeah. No, I think a lot of people also, like, I definitely thought, I also said that the Browns were going to win the AFC North, but the Ravens were going to be a thorn in their side. Yeah. And after all of those injuries started happening, I was like, I don't know. I don't know how the Ravens are going to fare with all this. Like, not only the run game, but Marcus Peters, who was like one of the best people in their defense. He was like phenomenal. So I was like, this Ravens team. And after last week too, I was like, they should have made their way down the field in overtime, and they didn't. And that's was part of the reason why they lost. Right. But this was, they did a full 180. Came out here and were like, we're going to win this game. Like you said, John Harbaugh put all of his faith in Lamar, who, oh my God, what a treasure he is to this world. And I think you tweeted it out that he calls Michelle Tafoya Miss Michelle.
Thank you, Miss Michelle. I appreciate you.
I was like so pure. And like, you can tell, people will say what they want about him running and whether or not he shouldn't have been a quarterback or not, and that whole garbage that they said when he was getting drafted. And I was just very blown away by this Ravens performance with the Browns having a few injuries within their midst right now. I'm like, maybe the Ravens do take the North. Maybe they do end up coming out here and winning, because it certainly isn't going to be the Bengals. So
it'll be, I think, also going into the game with that mindset that you're not going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs on field goals, which is why Justin Tucker barely saw the field that night. Lamar knew that. John Harbaugh knew that, and they played accordingly. And you spoke to it so perfectly. But the thing that I think I love the most about Lamar, and it's mainly football, it'll connect to his football style, but he is so authentically himself.
Absolutely.
And he knows what kind of player he is. He knows what's being said about him and the opinions people have about what kind of quarterback he is and why he's not worthy of the title of an elite quarterback. Mm-hmm. But he knows what game works for him. And he played that game his way. And he beat Patrick Mahomes that way. Yeah. And, it just, I hate the comparison game. And, there was that whole ESPN put out that stupid picture of, saying Jalen Hurts threw for 300 yards in 2 games already, and Lamar has only thrown for 1 in his career. I'm like,
that is not a fair comparison, though.
Not at all. It's a cherry-picked stat. I was like, where's Jalen Hurts' MVP?
And like, it's Jalen Hurts' first year. Like, and he plays on a completely different scheme.
And Jalen Hurts lost those 2 games. So what is the point of this stat here? Like, if you want to say it's weird in the NFL these days that Lamar Jackson only has one game where he's thrown for over 300 yards, sure. But anyone that's watched the Ravens at all knows that Baltimore is one of the best rushing offenses in the league. Like, it's just not the way they choose to they don't choose to throw the ball that much. They are better on their feet, and that's fine. It wins them football games. It bothered me so much. And like, because I feel like ESPN and every sport thing, they love to put the quarterbacks up next to each other. And I don't speak this just for Lamar. I speak this for everybody, where they love to put stats side by side, and they just don't tell the whole story.
No,
they never do. If you want to put your rankings and your favorites, that's fine. But the comparison game, when you're trying to tell a story and throw a narrative, though ESPN loves the narrative that Lamar can't throw the football for some god-awful reason, but
which is not true.
Not true at all. Not true at all. Has he made some bad throws? I mean, there were a couple bad throws last night and a few, against Oakland, but no, Las Vegas, excuse me. Still got to get used to that. But it's useless to me. It's all to create conversation. It's all to create, more hype and, engagement, I guess, on these social media posts, but there's no need for it. There's no need for it. You can be impressed with Jalen Hurts' week 1 start. You can be impressed with what he's done without diminishing what Lamar's doing in Baltimore. It was, like I said, it was kind of nice to see all the cocky Kansas City Chiefs fans sit on their hands for a little bit. So
yeah, every once in a while they need to be a little humbled.
Sit down, be humble. That's especially the fact that the Chiefs are currently not in first place in the AFC West. They're behind the Broncos and the Raiders, funny enough. So,
which is wild.
And guess what? If they lose to the Chargers next week, they'll be in last place.
That would be, I don't know if that's going to happen, but you never know at this point in time. You really
no faith in your boy, Justin Herbert.
I mean, Justin, yes. The rest of the Chargers make me nervous.
You see what I had to deal with for so many years.
After what they did with the Cowboys, and it just they couldn't finish that game, and that really pained me. The whole NFC East is just I'm not even going to go into the Giants game because we do not have time to dissect the Giants game. And
I felt so bad. I
just want to say that they watched the tape, and who was it? Oh, who was offside? Somebody I forgot who it was, but he wasn't offsides.
That was bull. Yeah.
They watched it again and they were like, "Oh yeah, my bad." Nah, he was.
That's what the refs do. There's no accountability in any league. They're just like, yeah, sorry.
I was like, are you? Oh, it was Dexter Lawrence. Dexter Lawrence was offside. So I was like, that's not that really hurt me. I literally I sat there on my couch and I was just like, I don't even know. I feel numb. I'm just gonna go to bed, I guess.
That didn't just happen.
No. But I mean, I do a Giant show on Thursday. So if anybody wants to hear my thoughts on that, you can tune in on Thursday to Big Blue Avenue on the Review and Preview Facebook page.
Big Blue Avenue. I love that name.
Yeah, it's fun, right? But anyway, so let's wrap up our show here with a couple of predictions for week 3. Okay. And I'm going to make this a weekly thing where I will ask my guests, I want you to pick 3 games that you're most excited for week 3 or the following week. And I want to hear your predictions. So hit me with the games you're most excited for and who you think is going to win.
Okay. Well, first and foremost, I'm very excited for the Buccaneers playing the Rams. I think that's going to be one of the best games. And I talked about it a little bit earlier, but when I was like, now that we've seen these teams kind of play, certain matchups look a little duller than I would have if you had asked me, preseason. But that one, I had trouble picking a favorite in that one. I think it's easy to go the Buccaneers because it's Tom Brady, reigning Super Bowl champion, but I'm going the Rams. I got a gut feeling telling me it's going to be the Rams. They're going to pull it out somehow.
I love that.
I just had to feel it. And it's one of those things where you just feel it in your gut and you're like,
yeah.
I got to pull up my phone list here. I did have the Chargers and the Chiefs on my list because it is an AFC West matchup. And there is that rivalry there between the fan bases. Maybe the Chiefs fans don't feel it so much, but the Chargers fans certainly do.
Certainly do.
Certainly do. For that one, coming off this loss, and I had this list because you sent this to me. I think you sent me the lineup before the loss last night. I definitely had it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because because you sent me the topics before, because you said however the Ravens Chiefs game ends. I'm like, oh, this is okay.
Yeah. We'll just talk about whatever.
Exactly. So this one, I'm sure the Chiefs are going to be licking their wounds here. They're going to want to bounce back and have a big game. They're back at home in Arrowhead. So I do have the Chiefs winning this game, unfortunately, but I would love to be pleasantly surprised as always.
Yes, I would too.
And then my third game, who did I have? I think I had trouble picking a third game. Oh, no. Of course. The Packers and the 49ers.
Yes.
I think the Packers find their groove. They find their mojo. And I always like the Packers 49ers matchups just because Aaron Rodgers did want to go. The 49ers passed on Aaron Rodgers back when he was getting drafted. This one, the 49ers are on a roll right now. So see, I think I have a prediction, and then I'm like, oh, do I? I always second guess myself.
I know. I feel that too. I have to say, though, the 49ers playing the Lions did not look too hot. They won it.
Did not. That was close.
But they didn't look hot.
No. I'll go Green Bay. I think that's a safe one.
All right. I mean, I'd probably go Green Bay as well.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to go against them even after that first week.
Right.
You're like, what if something happens? What if they get really, really good in a week, and then you're like, what have I done?
It was a fluke.
It was a fluke. I'm looking at the 3 games I decided to choose, and I realized they're all divisional matchups.
Ooh.
We did talk about Titans Colts briefly. So I picked Titans Colts, and I have the Titans winning, because even if Carson Wentz is okay and ends up coming back in, he's still sprained both of his ankles. And who's to say that won't affect him, or he'll do something else to his glass bones, or I don't know. And after seeing Derrick Henry just be incredible this past weekend, I'm definitely going Titans here. And it's going to be telling for the division as a whole, because this is the 2 teams everyone's expecting to go head to head in this division. So I'm going to go Titans here. Next is Bengals Steelers, mostly because I want to see how the Bengals fare against the Steelers defense.
Yes.
Which is probably not going to be very good, even if TJ Watt doesn't come back. But I'm going to go with the Steelers here because of that reason. And honestly, I think it's going to be a very low scoring game. I don't think it's going to be this incredible game, but again, telling in terms of the division. Yeah. And the last one for me, it's just going to hit home for me, and it's Eagles Cowboys, because these 2 teams are a lot better than I expected them to be. I think I went into this year expecting the NFC East to be bad, and for us to be just everybody be equally as bad. But the Eagles and the Cowboys both look really good, and I'm like, it makes me nervous.
Oh dear God. Okay.
It's so scary, but it'll be interesting to see the Eagles offense, which has been looking really strong, go up against the Cowboys defense, which has stepped up a whole lot since last year.
Right. I love that Monday night game. I love that it's a Monday night game too. Are the Giants on a bye week this week already? Or who are they playing?
The Falcons.
Okay.
Didn't think that was too hot of a matchup.
No. Why do I not have that on my... Why is that not here? Am I blind? I'm
pretty sure it's the Falcons.
It probably is, because neither of them are on here. So that would make... Yeah, there it is. There it is. I'm just blind.
They just almost just forgot about it, because it's probably going to be a very forgetful game. But yeah, so for here, I am going to go with the Cowboys, because I have to pick one of them. And if there's going to be one of them, I like Dak a lot more than I like Jalen Hurts. So that's what I got going here.
I don't blame you.
I mean, literally, the fact that Dak went down because of the Giants, I feel like I'm almost responsible for him.
I did this to him.
But yeah, so lots of divisional matchups next week, and it's gonna be, like I said, very telling for a lot of different divisions.
And it's only week 3.
And it's only week 3. There's so much happening. I don't know how I'm going to make it until February. I honestly don't. Yes. It's going to be.
But then you're gonna miss it so much when football's over. And
you're of course.
Spring training's boring. Where's the excitement? Where's the flavor?
But that's when we have our off-season stories, which will probably rotate right around Aaron Rodgers again. And we'll be trying to figure out where Aaron Rodgers is going to go next year, just like we did this year.
And, all that.
Oh my God. It's going to be a whirlwind all year round. But Annie, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show this week. I couldn't have asked for a better person to talk about this Ravens game with, because it was fantastic and everything else. This was really great. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. Always a pleasure, and love chatting football with you anytime.
Of course. So why don't you let everyone know where they can find you on social media, your podcast, all that good stuff.
You can find me on social media, any platform, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram at SweetAnnieOD. And my podcast is OD on Sports, available on any streaming platform. And yeah, give me a follow. I love chatting. I love meeting with sports fans. So yeah.
I highly recommend following Annie on TikTok. It is a very fun time. It is very fun to see Annie's TikToks. Every time they come up, I'm like, oh, I don't know what's happening in hockey, but Annie will tell me.
That's all I can ask. That's the best response I could ask for.
Of course. All right, everybody. You can find me at TGWTS Podcast on Twitter and The Girl Who Talks Sports on Instagram and TikTok. Make sure to subscribe on all podcasting platforms and on the YouTube channel, because we post our podcast there, and we're going to be posting some other videos throughout the football season. So make sure that you check that out. And I hope you all have a fun, fantastic sports-filled day. And I will see you guys all next week for NFL Week 3. Bye.